to the second edition of the world's largest Fintech Fest, Global Fintech Fest, organized by Internet and Mobile Association of India, along with its sister organizations, Payments Council of India and Fintech Convergence Council, and National Payments Corporation of India. The fest is being presented by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, Reserve Bank of India, and supported by Niti Aayog, Startup India, and Invest India. We would like to thank our session partners, Australian Trade and Investment Commission, WorldPlay from FIS, our session partner, eBiotech Corporation, CX partner, Zendex, cloud communication partner, Root Mobile, insights partner, CrediWatch, conversational messaging partner, Gupshup, and credit insights partner, TransUnion Sibyl. The second edition of the summit with the theme Fintech Empowering a Global Digital Economy will provide an in-depth understanding in the latest business, policy, investment, and technology developments within the fintech landscape globally. We welcome all of you for the keynote on India, an emerging global leader in the financial markets, role of India International Exchange. Without further ado, let me please invite Mr. Srinivas, Executive Director, SBI Funds Management, and Shri V. Balasubramaniam, the Managing Director and CEO, India International Exchange, IFSC, to start the conversation. Dear delegates, please keep on posting your questions in the chat box. The panel may pick up a few at the end and answer to your queries. Over to you, Mr. Jain.
Thank you very much, Swati. Let me start by welcoming my good friend Balasubramaniam, also known as Bala. Bala is actually the Managing Director and CEO of India International Exchange, IFSC. And before I ask him to talk about the keynote today, which is on India as an emerging global leader in financial markets, especially on the role of India International Exchange, I also want to talk to you a little bit of a context of why this is becoming very relevant today. As you are all aware, our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, way back wanted India to become a financial hub. And his dream was to set up International Financial Center in Gujarat, in Gandhinagar, when he was the chief minister there. It took us some time, but today we have one of the most world-class, smart city for financial services built in Gujarat, Gandhinagar. India International Exchange is actually, or what we call as India INX, is the first exchange of global nature from India being set up in the GIFT city, and Bala actually heads that organization. In fact, India INX in a very short period of time has become a go-to place for people to raise capital from the global markets. A lot of capital raising has happened in this particular market, and there is a lot of innovative, programs being run there. I would request Bala to talk about it, and then when he finishes his talk, I have some few questions to follow up on what else can be done on the IFSC. Over to you, Bala.
Thanks, Srini. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So I think, as Srini said, first, probably what I will do is I will talk about what this IFSC is all about and why it has been created and what do we actually as an exchange play a role. In fact, we are a startup exchange in this space, but over the last 4 years, we built up considerable market volume as well as actually been able to raise a lot of capital for Indian companies. So firstly, I will come to IFSC. What is IFSC? IFSC stands for International Financial Service Center. So today, when we look at international financial services, the first names which comes to us is London, New York, and probably in Asia, it could be Singapore, Hong Kong. And probably to a limited extent on the west coast of India, there is Dubai, which takes away a lot of the international business from India. And on the east side, it's Singapore, which takes away a lot of international business from India. Which means basically we are consuming financial services which are offered by these centers in terms of what we need as a market. So basically the government in 2009, I think this was during the UPA regime, where World Bank consultant Mr. Percy Mistry under his chairmanship, a committee was set up. This was during Mr. Chidambaram's time as finance minister. And at that time they came up with a report saying that India should have its own IFC or International Financial Center, which should basically cater, which should be a free liberal place, and it should cater to all the international financial services for Indian users and Indian companies. And basically the whole purpose was that today we all know that India has a capital restriction in place. RBI doesn't allow free transfer of capital from the country and outside, as well as what can come in. So there are checks and balances as far as these are concerned. Although over a period of time these have been liberalized, but it is always happening in a gradual fashion. But if you look at all these international financial centers, there are no capital restrictions in play. So what was thought is, let us create a separate IFC or International Financial Center, and let's basically say that in this place there are no Foreign Exchange Management Act applicable and no capital restrictions in place. So effectively it becomes virtually a foreign jurisdiction equivalent as far as financial sector is concerned. So this is how this whole idea was coined. And later on, I think in 2015, when Prime Minister Mr. Modi took over in 2014, finally the 2015 GIFT City, which is actually in the outskirts of Gandhinagar, closer to Ahmedabad, and about a 20 minutes drive from the Ahmedabad International Airport, was actually declared as the first international financial center. And at that time, the late Honorable Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, announced that. And this was done along with the entire regulators, which is RBI. At that time, Mr. Raghuram Rajan was the governor. And then we had SEBI, which was Mr. UK Sinha. And then we had IRDA. And basically, all these three regulatory bodies came up with regulations for IFSC and also guidelines in terms of what all activities can happen in this IFSC, who can do it, who can participate, and so on and so forth. And basically, in 2016, in the budget which was presented by the FM, the first set of tax incentives were announced for this particular center. And interestingly, this center was actually established as a SEZ or a special economic zone, because that was something which was already available as a kind of a regulatory framework for creating such free centers. So far, we had heard of SEZs or software technology park for IT sector or manufacturing, automobile, pharmaceutical, and so on and so forth. For the first time, it was happening as far as the financial services or the financial sector in India was concerned. And then in September 2016, the BSE board, which at the time was chaired by Mr. Ramdara, and the MD, Mr. Ashish Chavan, who had actually signed during the Vibrant Gujarat Summit to create an exchange. Finally, we decided to go ahead and set up an international exchange. So when we started, we had very little clue as to what all can be done. We thought a lot of things probably will evolve around the way. And in the last 4 years, I think we have come a long way in terms of our journey from where we started. But today there is a lot of clarity in terms of what the exchange does. We started out as a startup exchange, completely greenfield project. And there are few tenets here as far as the international exchange is concerned, which is different from the domestic exchange. First is the broad concept which we are trying to do is that a lot of Indian products in the capital market space, especially our rupee dollar, which is highly traded in the non-deliverable forward market in London, Singapore, and New York, etc., basically means the price discovery on exchange rate also happens sometimes, most of the times abroad. So the idea is, how do we actually onshore the offshore markets, which are our own products. The second is, we also know the capital market index, which is traded in the Singapore exchange, which again basically is the benchmark for how the Indian market opens. And effectively every day all the market participants look at what's happening in the offshore center or the international center before they actually can price it in the Indian market. So the idea was, how do we actually start onshoring this offshore and rightfully claim that all the price discovery starts happening in our own center. And for that, obviously, we need the confidence that all international participants, foreign investors, FPIs as we call them, all of them should be comfortable with this jurisdiction. So obviously there were two frictions. One is obviously the capital convertibility friction. Second, there is a rupee convertibility, that is the foreign currency has to be converted into a rupee. And third is obviously the taxes and the KYCs and the cost of regulation and compliance and all of that. So basically what the IFSC we thought of doing is, how do we solve all these challenges? How do we make India a place where people will want to come and do business? They will be glad to come and engage with us. So typically we attacked on all the four aspects, whether it is light touch regulation, ease of business, making it a red carpet for foreign investors, and also ensuring that the taxation framework is at par with the first world, which is basically what Singapore offers. So effectively we benchmark saying that we should be, if not equal to Singapore, better off than Singapore. That is basically, these are the four things which we kind of took as the base and said that let's go about building our own IFSC. So we obviously got the name India, which is the country's name. So India International Exchange itself is self-explanatory. So what we said is, we want to create products both from India, which we take it, which will be international in nature, which foreign investors can engage or offshore investors can engage. And second is also look at an outbound access for Indian investors, which is basically make available foreign assets, foreign diversified products, which can also cater to the Indian investors' demand. So effectively, we are now in the last 3-4 years come a long way in this journey, where we started on January 9, 2017, when the Honorable Prime Minister actually rang the bell and inaugurated our exchange. He actually laid out two vision statements. One is he said, we want the international exchange to become a price setter. So we should not be price followers. We should be actually setting prices, whether it be in equity or equity derivatives or currency derivatives or interest rate derivatives or commodities. So effectively, he said that whatever be the nature of the product which is traded, but we should try to emerge as a price setter in few of them over the next decade. So that was one basic vision. The second is basically the role of a capital market, which is a fundraising center. So he said we should emerge as a big capital raising center. Not only our Indian economy, even the subcontinent, Asia, Europe, Africa, all of these countries should finally come to our international financial center to raise money. So these are broadly the twin objectives. One is to create a deep liquidity pool, and the second is to make sure that we become a big fundraising center. So what has happened over the last 4 years? Now I will give you some statistics in terms of what has really happened. So when we started with zero volumes. Singapore, for example, trades close to about $2.5 billion of Nifty every day. Typically, the size of the NDF market, which Bank of England publishes in its survey, and also the triennial survey which happens by the BIS, pegs that on a daily basis about $40 to $50 billion of rupee dollars are traded internationally. So what we wanted is basically how do we onshore these offshore products. So we started with our India 50 futures and options, which is a direct competition to the SGX Nifty. And today, happily, I can say that our volumes are now in the range of close to about $12 to $15 billion daily, which is multiple times of what Singapore does. So that is one thing which we clearly have done. Obviously, this is just the start of the iceberg. There is a lot of headroom for growth. And who are the participants who can come in here? All Indian entities who want to do intermediary services here, whether it be a broker, whether it be a custodian, whether it be a portfolio manager, whether it be an investment advisor, they can all set up their offshore companies, or some of them are also even allowed to set up a branch, and they can actually come and do it here. So effectively, all participants from India can also, who are looking at aspiring to become international players, can step out and become an offshore player. For example, Srini represents SBI funds, and they themselves have set up an alternative investment fund. They are in the process of kind of getting it created. So now there are a lot of fund ecosystem which is moving from various parts of the world to come to the International Financial Service Center at GIFT City. In terms of the liquidity pool, today what we have done is we have now built close to about daily about $14 to $15 billion of volume of trading every day. This encompasses index futures and index options. This also encompasses gold futures. In fact, in gold, we are now trading almost 6 to 7 times more than what the Dubai Gold Commodity Exchange trades, which is our nearest rival as far as Asia is concerned in terms of the International Financial Service Center. And last year, in the middle of the pandemic, the Honorable Finance Minister inaugurated the rupee derivatives. So basically, we have the NDF now, rupee derivatives, which are traded on the futures market on our exchange, which has also gone off to a very decent start. And there are close to about 15 Indian banks and 5 or 6 foreign banks, which are all set up their IFSC banking units or the IBUs, which are now operational over the last 3-4 years. Obviously, over the last couple of years, quite a lot of banks have also come and started their operations out here. So banking sector is one, the capital market and the financial service sector is second, then the insurance sector is the third, and fourth is the pension sector. All these 4 sectors in last year, in the end of December 2019, through an act of parliament, a single unified regulator has been created for the IFSC, which is called the International Financial Services Centers Authority. So effectively, this authority has now taken over from October 1, 2020, which is just almost 1 year now, almost going to be 1 year now. They've taken over the powers from RBI, SEBI, IRDA, and PFRDA. And in addition, in December 2020, the Government of India notified even bullion, which is the gold, silver, precious metals, even that as a financial product, and they have allowed the IFSC authority to be the regulator for that. So now effectively what we have done is we have now created a unified regulator. So there is a single window for every activity which can be done, whether it be banking, whether it be capital market, whether it be fund management industry, whether it be any kind of intermediation service, whether it is basically insurance or whatever it is. Everything is now a longevity finance. Everything is now coming under one. Additionally, there are many other areas which have also been opened up, which India nevertheless never had it. For example, Ireland was a pretty large, Dublin was a pretty large center for aviation financing. So India is today a very large growing aviation market. So aircraft leasing business is something which India was completely devoid of. In fact, all the Indian airline operators used to lease by going to Dublin. It's an international service. Now that has been brought to the IFSC. Similarly, I think right now shipping finance is another activity which is coming in here. Third is even global in-house centers, which are basically international finance companies, which actually get all the global in-housing or insourcing services. All of these are now being put under the IFSCs. Effectively, everything is under a single regulatory ambit. And this regulator is now fully empowered with all the powers to regulate the IFSC with one single window kind of a thing. And most importantly, this regulator is now competing with other international regulators. The benchmark is now how do they compete with the Monetary Authority of Singapore, the SECs, the CFTCs, the FSAs, and so on and so forth. So effectively, this regulator will be very forward-looking. They will have to look at how this IFSC can become a frontier market, not an emerging market. So we'll be looking more from how we can make our regulations more suited from a frontier market perspective. And that is basically our. So for example, just 3 months back, IFSC authority has come up with the issuance and listing regulations. And under that, SPACs have been allowed, which basically is now a new rage in the international markets. This has been completely allowed. Startup companies from India, now they can come and list here. In our center, there are 2 or 3 tenets. One is all the trading happens in foreign currency. So effectively, our center is totally built on US dollars. So there is no conversion cost for foreign companies, foreign investors. So effectively, they can use the choice currency on the international market to do that. Secondly, we also are running the market on India International Exchange for 22 hours a day. So we start at 4:30 a.m. India morning, which is when Japanese markets open. So we start from the East Coast when the markets open there, and close next day morning at 2:30. So we have a business day concept, so which flows across calendar days, and that is when the US markets close. So effectively, when the West Coast of America actually closes. So effectively, what we have done is we have created now a marketplace which is absolutely available all the time for all investors across the globe, be it from the east of the world or be to the extreme west of the world. So that is basically what we are doing. So these are 2 big advantages as an international financial center. Obviously, we have built world-class infrastructure. India International Exchange as an international technology, we use the German T7 engine. We actually boast the fastest exchange, so we have response time which for an order which is 4 microseconds. So just to give you a time scale, in 1 second there are 1000 milliseconds, and in each millisecond there are 1000 microseconds. So we are trading almost close to 1 to a quarter million kind of a second. So that's the kind of speed. We have created a world-class data center where even co-location of servers for our intermediaries, including international market players, are all allowed. So effectively, we have created a world-class infrastructure. We are also connected to international CSDs like Clearstream, Euroclear, DTCC, etc. through our clearing corporation, which is India ICC. And our India ICC is also got recognition as a QCCP or a qualified central counterparty, not only from our home regulator, but also from the EU, the ESMA, that is the European Securities Market Association regulator, as well as the Bank of England, since the Brexit has kind of happened. So effectively, it is recognized by all European market players. We also made an application to recognize our products by CFTC, which we are in the final stages of getting approval. So basically, US investors can also participate to come and hedge out here. So effectively, what we have done is we have basically worked with all international market players and also international regulators to make sure that all the roads finally lead to the GIFT IFSC or India's own financial center. So this is basically what the journey has happened. Now, in terms of some of the initiatives which have happened, one is obviously in terms of the primary markets. In India, Indian companies are allowed through the external commercial borrowing framework to go and borrow international debt, whether it be in dollars or euros, or even they can do masala debt, which are rupee denominated. So since 2018, when we actually created our global securities market platform, I think till date we have managed to list close to about $57 billion of medium-term note programs. So these are all corporates, not only from India, but also multilateral agencies like ADB, etc. have also come. In fact, all the major players from India who raise offshore capital, be it from the government sector, be it from the banking financial service sector, or be it from the private sector, all of them are now listed on the India International Exchange. This has all been done quietly over the last 2 to 3 years. So we have actually now built a very big pipe as far as debt framework is concerned. And in fact, recently we have seen HDFC Bank list their 81 foreign currency bond, almost $1 billion bond. Exim Bank has done almost $10 billion of bond on us. Similarly, SBI has done. NHAI, NTPC, PFC, Indian Railway Finance Corporation. So effectively all the infrastructure which is getting built today in India, most of it is now supported through foreign borrowing, which are all basically now facilitated by India International Exchange through its primary market platform. So these are all certain things which clearly are happening. And now as we move gears from not only debt market, with the issuance and listing regulations, now a lot of players, including startup companies, SME companies, not only from India, which are also set up in IFSC, and also from international areas, which are all in the regulated jurisdictions, which are all recognized as FATF jurisdictions or part of the Financial Action Task Force. All of these jurisdictions, they can all come to our exchange in the IFSC and can list their products, and we'll be able to get them to raise international capital. So effectively, we are working on both the vision statements to become a deep liquidity pool and also a capital raising center. And as we speak, we are also now looking at evolving products for even resident Indians to look at. One is the resident Indians recently by RBI have been allowed through the LRS or the Liberalized Remittance Scheme route to also bring annually $250,000, which can also be brought to the IFSC. That is the gift IFSC, and they can actually, all wealthy Indians and rich family management offices, they can all start, if they want to diversify their assets from only Indian assets to global assets, they can use the IFSC as a conduit, as a route. In fact, India International Exchange has set up its own subsidiary called the India INX Global Access IFSC Limited. It's a global access, or a GA as you call it. This subsidiary is a platform. Just like in India, we have the Star MF platform, which BSE has, which is basically bringing all the mutual fund platforms in one place. So we have built this platform, and now we have listed multiple exchanges in the world to be accessed through this platform. See, we have got all the CME group companies, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, be it COMEX, NYMEX, CME, or CBOT. Similarly, we have got ICE, which is the Intercontinental Exchange, which is the second largest derivatives exchange in US. Similarly, we have got LME, we have got Eurex. We have now virtually got 131 stock exchanges integrated through our GA platform, and effectively we give you access to all the markets, whether it be it stocks, bonds, ETFs, derivatives, everything is kind of available. Although under the LRS route, local Indians are not allowed to access derivatives, neither can they trade. But as far as investments are concerned, if they want to buy, say, any stock, the FANG stock, or any UK stock, or any South African stock, or Brazilian stock, or a Korean stock, they can actually come through us and do that. So that way we are now created the IFSC as a perfect gateway for both international capital to come in their country, which is the inbound side, and also wealthy Indians who are looking at basically buying global assets can also come and use us as an investment platform. So both these are kind of achieved. I think I will probably finish in another couple of minutes. Other thing which is of significant thing is that within the IFSC, now we all know that we ourselves treat ourselves as a fintech company. We are a financial company, we are a technology company, because our entire infrastructure is leveraged on technology. We understand how fintech is changing the world, and India is emerging as the number one center. And in fact, today in the earlier session, I think there was a report which was released which basically said India is now probably the number one world fintech center. And I think in the last budget, the Honorable Finance Minister also said that the GIFT IFSC ecosystem will also be now leveraged to make it a major fintech hub. And the GIFT City, which is now part of government of Gujarat, as I think worked out with one multilateral agency, ADB, and they are looking at a very big global fintech hub to come here. We are looking at data centers for international companies also to be put in here. And basically, we are now got almost 5 or 6 fintech accelerator programs here. We ourselves as a group have actually set up one with the Gift City. So if anybody is interested in some of the solutions, they can come to us. Additionally, we also created an innovation sandbox, which is available as part of our exchange platform, which people can apply to. You can all refer to it through our website, indiainx.com. And we also, the IFSC authority, which is our regulator now, they have come up with a regulatory sandbox. And under that, there are a lot of new things which we are trying out. In fact, as we speak, we have entered into an NDA with one of the partners where we are exploring some digital asset side solutions, including tokenization, NFTs, and other stuff. And we are seeing how we can actually look at doing it. There are so many opportunities here because here this is primarily a foreign currency driven center. So US dollar is the primary currency which is there. And there is going to be a lot of opportunities for cross-border remittance, both from India to the IFSC and from IFSC to the rest of the world. So there are going to be a lot of solutions which are required for that. There are a lot of lending on a peer-to-peer across cross-border, which is kind of required. So there are so many solutions which can be built. We also need a payment gateway or a payment solution provider who can do instantaneous transfers across geographies. So all like basically what NPCI today has done with IMPS and all the services which they offered. So I think similar solutions are required for exchanging across globe. So these are all some of the potential opportunities which clearly the IFSC as a center definitely brings. And also there are a lot of new products which can be evolved here. So I talked about SPACs which are not there. Again, many innovative products which probably India may take a little more time to bring in. We can actually be the first jurisdiction which can actually experiment, because in some sense we are competing with the best in class in the world, and we aspire to become as big or as large as them for the next decade or whatever it is. So obviously this could be a good place, good melting point for a lot of innovation to come through. Obviously the scales also are going to be larger because the scales which we are playing are international scales. It's not just domestic scales. We are catering to the entire globe as a marketplace. So effectively these are all the things which we bring to the table. And so Srini, I will stop here and you can ask if there is time. I can take some questions or some Q&A. Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot.
No, Bala, I think this has been very, very useful. And I think a half an hour session doesn't do justice for the amount of work that you guys are doing. And very impressive. I actually had a couple of very interesting observations. I think in a very short span, this has become a go-to-market IFSC for at least bond issuance, a significant market. I think it's a $50+ billion worth of fundraising has happened in a very short period. It's a big stuff. And for us also, and as you mentioned, thanks for the plug, we've also been very actively looking at the entire IFSC Gift City platform. We've got our in-principle approval to start operations, and we're planning to launch our alternatives platform there. And eventually, we'll also look at the CIF kind of vehicles as more public funds are allowed to manage. Oh, but maybe one last question. I think we have like a couple of minutes left. But one last question is that, we've now kind of come here. So much is happening. What does it take now, right? I know all the enablers are falling in. What does it take for us to now start directly competing, whether it's in regulations or in product market, from a global standards point of view? And what does that push? Do you need more talent pool? Do you need to attract more technology company? What does it take now for that to happen?
So the answer is that Rome was never built in a single day. So it takes time. Obviously, the government has made all the right moves. We have now rolled back the retrospective taxation, structurally resolved it. We have now got a regulator in place. So we are doing it the right way. It's a question of time before the world starts moving to us. India obviously is a major economy. We'll rightfully claim our place in the global table. And clearly, with more trade happening from India, obviously, as a market, we all know that we are a reflection of the trade. As our economy size starts growing up, similarly, our market size will start growing up. As I think in some sessions, I saw that already in the last 1 year, since COVID happened, major digital disruption has happened. So obviously now people, even Indians now, are now looking not inward, but they're looking outward. So now they are looking at competing at an international scale. There are so many things which are happening: sustainable finance, climate control, green financing. All these areas, I think now the IFSC can take a lead. We can set an example. So there are so many areas which are open, and clearly the IFSC is a great opportunity for Indians who are looking at international careers. So, human capital, Indians are there in almost all the big centers, whether it be New York, London, or Singapore, or whatever. You will find a lot of our colleagues there. So, I think all of them, it's a matter of time before we do it. And also, GIFT City has been built as a smart city. So there is a walk to work. This whole city is kind of the smart city for the 100 smart city plan. So effectively, we are creating a first world infrastructure, tap drinking water, tunnels, no digging. So effectively, this is the new India which is getting transformed. So effectively, the sky is the limit for us. So I think the next generation, compared to when we started in the 90s, our career, the financial sector reform started, we all grew with that. So I think now the next stage of reform, which is the international finance, basically Indians going international, is probably what is going to start out here.
I can surely say that you did a smart move from moving from Mumbai to Gujarat, smart city. I'm sure there'll be more talent that will come in. I think we've run out of time, but there are a couple of questions people have been asking. Maybe I'll ask that you. I think since it's a fintech event, people are asking, how do you apply for your fintech accelerator? Is there a way you can?
Yeah. So basically, there is a circular which the IFSC authority has put, which is on the regulatory sandbox. So it's very easily accessible. One can Google it, and they will be able to get that, and they can apply through that. And our innovation sandbox is available on our website, so people can go through that and they can click those links. There are clear guidelines as to who can apply, what innovation they have to bring. So the guidelines are very, very clean and transparent. If there are any questions, they can also reach out to our people. There are email IDs and other stuff which is also available, so people can definitely clarify. And Ahmedabad airport is the nearest airport, so one can open. They are always free to come to GIFT City. There are enough people to help there. Even GIFT City, the city people themselves are very, very friendly. They are actually the municipality, they are the town planners, they are the urban development authority. So effectively, they're all rolled into one. So it's all single window. So you're seeing virtually a new kind of stuff. So this is the second city after Jamnagar, where actually one single agency has been given the responsibility to manage everything. Because we know in most of the metros, our biggest problem is so many agencies working at cross purposes. So here you won't find any of that. So there is no clutter. Anybody can come. All the roads are simple, straight, with clean signages, so people can easily find their way around. If they need any help, they will be happy. They can also reach out to me or my team in India INX. Our website is www.indiainx.com. So all of them are free to come and seek any questions.
This is very appetizing, Bala. I need to also rethink my career. Anyway, congratulations on a great talk. We've completely run out of time. There's lots of questions. I had a lot of questions, but I think we have zero time here left. So over to Swati. Thank you very much, Bala.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming over, and thank you so much, Bala, sir, for giving out such wonderful and insightful insights. Let me tell you like that, and making this session possible. Thank you once again for coming and participating in Global Fintech Fest. I would like to even thank all the delegates who have come and joined and have participated in this particular event. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.